This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Brian Pasfield. Brian is the CTO of Fringe Finance, which is a new decentralized financial ecosystem, DeFi. Yes, quite a strange time in DeFi, of course, so it'd be fascinating to learn all about Fringe Finance and I guess the trials and tribulations of launching in the turbulent time that is crypto today. But first, let's meet Brian. Welcome to the show, Brian. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Great to meet you. And it's great to be on here today.
Great to have you here, Brian. So before we get into it, love it if you could please introduce yourself to me and, of course, to the listeners and to the viewers. I gather you're in Sydney, just across the ditch from me. I'm in Auckland. It's always good to have an Aussie on the show. So please, love to hear a bit about your background and what you've been up to in the lead up to Fringe Finance, Brian.
Boy, yeah, okay. It's been a busy time. My background, I'm the CTO of Fringe Finance. My background is engineering and a lot of software engineering. That was where I really cut my teeth back in the day. But then have done a lot of work in the corporate space and a lot of management consulting, and was a partner in a mid-tier management consulting firm many years ago, and then moved more into the startup space and fintech and IoT technology space. And I really love the technology. Heard about Bitcoin in about 2012 and really never looked back. I've been with Fringe Finance for the last year, and it's been a turbulent time building this product and getting it out there. And tomorrow, in fact, we're releasing our product to mainnet or launching it on mainnet. It is on mainnet as we speak. And so it is exciting times, I must say.
Yes, it is. And so I should point out, I suppose, for people listening, as we record, my computer tells me it is Thursday, the 23rd of June. However, Brian and I, we live down under, so we tend to live in the future. We're always a day ahead of most listeners to the Crypto Conversation. So bear that in mind as well. But I guess I'm just explaining the context, because by the time this releases, which I think will be next week, you should also already be live on mainnet. Fringe Finance will be live. But talk to us a little bit about, I suppose, the origin story for this particular project then, Brian. What's the background? You said you'd been involved for about a year. You're the CTO. So, who's behind this thing, and how long has it been in the works?
Okay, so Paul Mack is our CEO, and he's the brainchild behind this. He realized during the last crash that there was quite a lot of value locked up in altcoins. And our value proposition is we're providing a DeFi and particularly a lending platform, particularly for holders of altcoins, because there's a lot of capital held up in these altcoins, but there is just not a lot of venues within the DeFi ecosystem to deploy your capital for these altcoins. A lot of the popular coins are supported quite well by platforms that people are familiar with. But our intention is to build out support for more and more of the altcoins and provide lending capability for those holders. So we think it is a real niche, and we'll be offering a whole suite of services around lending, variable interest rate, fixed interest rate, insurance for these products, and our roadmap includes other layer 1 and layer 2 support, and we're fully decentralizing our front end and removing all the centralized aspects to this project or this product as we move forward. So we're really trying to embrace the whole notion of decentralized, permissionless, and trustlessness with regard to our product. So it fully embraces the good tenets of DeFi.
Very nice, Brian. The good tenets of DeFi. And yeah, well, I suppose this is a good, as good a point as any, really, just to, I'd love to get your perspectives on, I suppose, what has happened, not just in DeFi, but I guess the wider crypto markets in general. So, we've had, as you know, it's been a turbulent time. It has seen, I suppose, the collapse of one or two of the biggest players in the space, really. So one, of course, the Celsius lending and borrowing platform. I'm not sure they might not describe themselves like that, but also Three Arrows Capital, probably the biggest hedge fund in the space. And so this, of course, has led to some serious market jitters, all this kind of ongoing threat of contagion, who has exposure, who doesn't, who's still at risk. And I think it for these reasons, really, the kind of the public image of crypto and DeFi as well has taken a bit of a knock. It'd be fair to say, Brian.
Yeah, I would say, I think with many financial products, there is a lot of leverage behind them, and that poses risks. And the way that leverage is set up those risks are mitigated to varying degrees. And there's always going to be a situation in the future, despite whatever mitigations are in place to manage the risks that are posed to any platform or any situation in life, really. The worst eventuation is, by definition, yet to come. So what has happened in the DeFi space or in the crypto space is whatever mitigations have been in place, now a lot of those have come unstuck, and they haven't foretold the circumstances that have occurred in the, let's call it the greater financial environment. It's not only crypto, of course, that has felt the effects of the current financial situation globally. So it's certainly not standing alone, but there are those mitigations that were in place that in certain circumstances, particularly with the platforms that you talk about, that they've suffered and they have not been able to handle the risks that have been posed to them.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's kind of, I guess there's these two narratives emerging at the moment. One narrative is that the promise and potential of DeFi, decentralized finance, is as clear as ever, right? And part of the reason, or one of the reasons for the collapse of the likes of Celsius and Three Arrows Capital is that they're not really DeFi in the true sense of the word. You don't know everything that's happening on chain. A lot of it is quite opaque, and whoever was kind of running the finances at both Celsius and Three Arrows Capital, they're just making trades, really. They're just being degenerate crypto traders, which a lot of people will be able to relate to. No problem there. Anyway, so that's one narrative. The other narrative, I suppose, is the reverse of that, and that it's that old chestnut. If you don't know where the yield is coming from, then perhaps it's you that's providing the yield to people that have got in before you. So, a lot of talk about how these kind of high yields aren't really sustainable. And as soon as the market turns and some of the big players start to unwind, we've seen that happen. I know this is big picture stuff, Brian, but how do you think about all of this? Where does the yield come from, Brian?
That's a really good question. I think with products like that, it's sometimes not very evident. And I think what you referred to there, if you don't know where the yield comes from, maybe it's coming from you. And of course, there's another word for that, and that's called Ponzi. DeFi and many industries have people who are, let's say, less scrupulous than others. And there are many projects that are built to make people rich rather than getting back to a point that I raised earlier on in this discussion, upholding the good tenets of DeFi. And they really are quite clear, which is, visibility, everything on chain, permissionless, and products that don't try to be half as smart, or smart by halves, I think the saying is, where if there's some complexity there to eke out yields, then potentially there is a house of cards that could come unraveled. I think with this industry, there will be a clear or clarity for the type of products that don't try to be too smart, that are solid, that offer a good foundation for better and layered capabilities on top. What we think with, and I'll just refer to Fringe Finance here, is we're attempting to build in mitigations into this product that will act as a good foundation so that it can be used composably by future generations of products. And those future generations of products know that there's a good foundation that aren't smoke and mirrors, and that aren't just matters of products or projects to make people rich quick. And we're attempting the best we can to avoid that, because yeah, you're quite right. If you don't know where the yield comes from, if things are too opaque, and if things are a little bit too complex, then quite potentially there's an issue there.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Brian. I feel like I'm not trying to pick on you or DeFi necessarily, but it's just it's just this is what's happening in the market, and it's good to get the perspective of people such as yourself. And look, I'm I've a few friends who are, I guess, similar to you in that they're much more technical than me, and I see them as, they're really passionate about Ethereum and DeFi and what can be built with these composable building blocks, and I see that they want to do this for the right reasons. They just want to make interesting financial building blocks to kind of build the future of France, as people like to say, or the future of finance. But I suppose the what I'm trying to get at, Brian, is you touched on it yourself. Unfortunately, there's intriguing new technology markets attract how should we say, intriguing speculators and hustlers, right? And crypto has way more than its fair share of fast money hustlers. So if that's the case, how do you balance it out? How do you get enough people that are kind of trying to stick to what I think you described it as the good tenets of DeFi, when you've got so many kind of fast money hustlers who, a lot of them even start out with good intentions, but they just kind of get seduced by the dark side, if you like. Once you start making money, man, people don't want to stop making money. And yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, Brian, but what do you think?
No, yeah, I think that is a really good point. I think the market will sort that out. The scammers and the scam projects will eventually either collapse, or people will understand that it is unsustainable, because if something is unsustainable, well, it's certainly not going to last for the long run. People will begin to see, as we see these bonfires, these dumpster fires of projects explode in flames at the moment, people will begin to ask, or progressively more and more begin to ask, okay, what makes a good project then? And they'll gravitate towards, again, those good tenets of DeFi that have got an element of honesty behind them, that they have a good level of trustlessness. So everything is laid out in the protocol, and they can see that, okay, they understand what they're allocating their capital to, and they'll begin to move more and more to products that are more and more solid. So over time, this will sort itself out. I think there is a whole host of things happening at the moment where the market is running like lemmings, I should say, off the cliff toward new holy grails. For example, proof of stake is considered the holy grail at the moment because people are running towards this. What's the right word here? Running towards the misapprehension that the holy grail is lower fees. And a proof of stake can offer lower fees, but however, it has a time bomb built into it because it is less able to, or it's able to handle less threat models or threats posed to it. For example, there are points of centralization that ultimately will become either exploited by bad actors or state actors that coerce the either platforms or products in proof of stake environments through things like bribery attacks and so forth. And these eventually, again, will become evident to the market, and the market will, once they're off this short-term fixation with trying to reduce fees, they will realize that what they need is something solid, something that is trustworthy, and good technology that will support these good tenets of DeFi.
Yeah, fascinating, Brian. And look, we'll come back and we'll talk about, we'll get into Fringe Finance again, but I just want to pick up on what you're saying there. So you're talking about proof of stake and having, let's say, more potential attack vectors due to these various different potential points of centralization, right? So if that's the case, what is the solution then? And, why are you building this on Ethereum?
Well, it's really one of the most prevalent platforms available at the moment. Currently, the threat on Ethereum is what it is, and over time that will change. And I think it represents the best venue to release these products, given the current threat environment. And as I mentioned, I think that will change over time. There will be various competitions between various platforms, and that will sort itself out in time. Perhaps Ethereum will maintain forever to be the platform that is, the platform and the network that is the best for all of this, but time will tell.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be one of the big. That's going to be the fascinating, one of the fascinating battles over the decade ahead, isn't it, Brian? The not just the currency wars between fiat currencies, central bank digital currencies, and decentralized currencies such as Bitcoin, but of course also the smart contract platform wars. Solana versus Ethereum versus Avalanche.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is a lot of competition out there, and there are different models. And with those platforms, or those networks, there is various degrees of centralization. And I think they'll play out. This is a matter of evolution, and we'll see different technology come to the fore, and the market will ultimately move to the world computing platform that offers the best capability, and some of that capability is going to be security, because it is pitting itself against competitors like the traditional finance space, and ultimately those battles will occur. And these platforms are anti-fragile, or ideally they still maintain an element of anti-fragileness about them that will allow them to adapt and strengthen and fend off the threats that they're posed with.
Yes, that's exactly right. All right. Well, I said we'd do some more on Fringe Finance, Brian. So let's do that. So we're live on mainnet now, or live on mainnet tomorrow, or well, let's just say by the time you're listening to this, we're live on mainnet. We're underway. You said, Brian, this is primarily for altcoin holders, right? So just tell us a little bit more about what you mean by altcoins in this particular context. Which kinds of assets are you talking about, or which kinds of assets are supported in the beginning anyway?
Okay, so I'll talk very briefly about the actors that will use our platform. Primarily, it is the altcoin holders, and this includes the retail holders, any bag holders of these altcoins. They believe passionately in their project or in these projects, and they're looking for the upside. So they want to hold these coins. Also, these altcoin holders are the treasuries of the projects themselves. So they're sitting on fat treasuries, and they want to deploy that into the marketplace, but they don't want to dilute the market by selling their tokens. So this offers them an excellent opportunity to be able to take out stablecoin loans and then use those stablecoins to exercise or to facilitate further operational or new development expenses for their project. So that on the borrower side are the two key personas, and the other actors are the lenders. So the lenders are, well, any lender who has US dollar holdings in a bank, for example, and who wish to eke out better yield than they can currently receive by holding their deposits in the bank, they can convert that to stable coins, or any other stablecoin holder can deploy the capital as a lender onto our platform. And so that goes into a lending pool, and our product is permissionless and it is non-custodial, so that those funds from lenders go into the lending pool, and then borrowers can put up their collateral of their altcoins and then take out over collateralized loans, and then do with whatever they like in the ecosystem with their stablecoin loans. And so they're the two actors. And of course, we have a third key actor, which are liquidators on the platform. Because the collateral assets values changes over time, it's beholden to the borrower to ensure that their positions are always liquid or always over collateralized, so that we can maintain stability of our platform, and lenders can be assured that they're always going to be paid back. So we have liquidators through certain parameters that we've configured in the system, that they can perform liquidations on positions that become below the minimum collateralization level. So all of these actors work together in this incentive compatible good game theory model that means they all work in harmony for their own interests, but it works for the interest of the platform as a whole.
Yes, very nicely said, Brian. That is the promise and potential of DeFi, according to the good tenets of DeFi. But what about the assets that will be supported at launch then, Brian?
Okay, so the assets that we will be supporting from day one include MATIC, Link, TOMOE chain, the ERC20, REN, IOTX, BNT, and OGN, Origin. So that's the first 7 assets that we've got, but we have a whole host that we are assessing and planning to release on a monthly basis. We'll release a whole set of these, and we've got a fairly defined process that allows us to list these tokens, and more to the point, assess the token, understand the market, the liquidity, and the performance of that token in terms of its volatility, so that we can then define the lending parameters for that token as we list it. And what I refer to there, for example, when it comes to liquidity on the marketplace, all the various trading venues for a given token will represent the available liquidity for that token, and we only allow lending against that token to a certain level, to ensure that if there is adverse market conditions, that the liquidations, if absolutely necessary, that there is an efficient market that is able to liquidate those positions so that we maintain stability of our platform. Because if there's not enough liquidity in the marketplace, then liquidators won't be incentivized or won't be encouraged to liquidate positions because they just know they won't be able to dispose of those assets into trading venues. Because there's just not enough liquidity, they'll experience too much slippage. And these factors all come into play in us assessing how and when we list one of the altcoins that we're looking to progressively add to our platform.
Thank you, Brian. All right, well, as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, then I suppose, just look, give you the opportunity to tell people where they should go if they're holding some of those assets you mentioned, and perhaps looking for a way to monetize them. Really, where should they go if they want to learn more about what you guys are building at Fringe Finance?
Fringe.fi is our website. There people will find links to our white paper and a whole host of Medium articles, and we're attempting, and our Twitter and social media links. And with our Medium articles, we're describing things as fully as possible, because we want to bring a good ecosystem of people who are interested in these good projects. So ultimately they can become part of the DAO that we're establishing with this. At the moment, with the initial launch of the product, we're operating as a team, but we're making moves and intending to move to a full DAO model. So we encourage people to have a look at our Fringe.fi website, peel back the covers, understand our product and the philosophy that we're embodying here, become involved, because I think there will be great opportunities not only to deploy your capital, but become involved in a DAO and really add value to the ecosystem for its longevity.
Very nicely said, Brian. Thank you for that. All right, well, let's go to a very quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll finish off, and we'll run you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round.
In today's crypto market, the team at Brave New Coin are the sector's leading builders of custom crypto indices. BNC's powerful indexing engine draws on Brave New Coin's premium data to calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. BNC's custom indices help you to gain exposure to the crypto assets class and track your performance against the market without having to become a stock picker. Not sure what you need? A Brave New Coin consultant can help you assess your requirements. Contact BNC today to find out more.
And boom, we are back. And I'm with Brian Pasfield. Brian is the CTO at Fringe Finance, a new DeFi protocol that has just launched. And look, Brian, you may or may not be aware, but I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'm up for it, whether I'm ready or not. Let's see. Can you just make them easy for me, my friend?
They'll be very easy for you, Brian. Don't you worry. Well, question one, let's just get straight into it. So I'm just going to throw some questions at you. All I want you to do is give me your honest opinion, hot take style, just quick, snappy answers, but no right or wrong way to do this. Question one, Brian, is where would you say you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
I straddle the world. I think there is an opportunity to have solid, trustable, ossified storage of wealth and assets, and that's really where the Bitcoin maximalist side of things comes in. But I'm also very much interested in this world computing platform, because we need good platforms to fully enable this notion of value transfer that Bitcoin gives us. But we need to just have good platforms that enable us to build these decentralized, trustless, and uncentrable systems.
Yeah, nicely said. It's okay to like both, people. What would you say, though, Brian, is your firmest conviction, a crypto opinion?
A crypto opinion. Sorry, I'm not sure if I understand that question, Andy.
Sorry, what's your crypto opinion that you have the most firmest conviction in? What do you believe the most about crypto?
What do I believe about most? I would say that I think this whole idea of permissionlessness and uncensorability ushers in a whole new world where we can build ecosystems that will transform our society greatly. I think there is great opportunity for people to work in these spaces that are outside the traditional realms of state-based coercion, if you like, because people really don't get to opt into their state-based models, and that includes the regulations and just the whole political environment that surrounds it. Here we have an opportunity to create ecosystems that will, let's say, complement the real world reality, because there are many things that just can't be manifest in the digital space. But I really am a believer in this, and that's why I keep referring back to these good tenets of DeFi and crypto, where if we stick to that, we then get the opportunity of creating these nice, pure ecosystems that complement the world and help humanity get to that next step.
Very nicely said, Brian. All right. Well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So with that in mind, let's say DeFi, what do you think it looks like in 10 years' time?
I think DeFi will extend beyond just financial products, and what I refer to there as DAOs, operating in such a way that they will have whole hosts of services and just communities around them where people are working for these DAOs, and these DAOs are, through the ability of crypto, being able to transfer value between themselves. What doesn't exist at the moment is a good way for these DAOs to resolve disputes. And I think webs of trust and dispute resolution systems and really whole legal frameworks that will come into play, that will operate outside of the traditional legal frameworks and the state-based legal systems, is something that will transform the world. This is at the moment, state-based legal systems have the veracity of force, state applied force behind them, because ultimately if somebody does not uphold their pledge in a contract, the state can get involved and people can be thrown into a cage, and force will compel them to perform according to those contracts. What we'll have in the new world is we'll have these decentralized DAOs operating pseudonymously, and we'll have the individuals operating pseudonymously, but they'll have reputations they'll wish to uphold. And those reputations will be, if you like, the force or the veracity behind not only being able to take out contracts and engage with people in contracts, but in these decentralized adjudication systems that will then evolve in this ecosystem. The loss of your reputation will have real commercial damage or risk to you. So you want to uphold that, and therefore upholding and fulfilling terms of any contract, including the findings or the verdicts of these decentralized legal systems that will arise, will be something that utterly transforms the world.
Fantastically said, Brian. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, the flip side of all this speculation, of course, is a quote by sci-fi author William Gibson, who famously said that the future, Brian, is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So with that in mind, can you think of an example of the future being here right now, but most people just aren't really aware of it?
Yeah, it really comes down to crypto and DeFi. The good tenets of this, us being able to roll this out, us being all of the community who is involved in it in any way, shape or form, being able to continue to roll it out and to contend with the battles that it faces, such as with unsustainable projects and with bad press through adversaries that don't wish the health of this ecosystem. So it's all here, and it's a road, it's a journey. And if people are interested, I always encourage people to look into it and get involved, because it really is something that offers great opportunity for good actors to become involved in this for its sustainable future.
Awesome. All right, well, time to zoom out. Time to get weird just for a second, Brian. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
There's always that battle, because there's always good and evil, and this is rooted in our deep traditions, and all of our stories and fairy tales and so forth have that deeply built into us. So there is. And it's a theme of so many stories. I think there's always going to be that battle between good and evil, if you like. And so it really comes down to principles and having good foundations of the history of our culture, and understand the good things that come out of that, and why those elements of our culture exist, and bring that forward. I think it's not good to discard everything that we've built our culture upon, because there's some excellent stuff there. We need to continue to adapt that, take it forward, and continue to fight the good fight, really.
Awesome. All right, let's close this out, Brian. What is your favorite science fiction book, film, TV show, or universe?
Oh, dear me. Okay. I used to read a bit of Piers Anthony, which was science fantasy, when I was in my early teens and late teens, or mid-teens, I should say. And that was a whole bunch of fun. But I think Foundation, Asimov trilogy is something that really gave me insight into science fiction being more than just technology and the pizzazz, if you like, of a spaceship flying across the sky. It's really about humanity, culture, and politics. Really, it comes down to there's elements of politics in almost everything. We should be aware of that. And I think, yes, the lessons out of science fiction is more than just science. It's really about humanity.
Yeah, very nicely said. Could not have said it better, Brian. And A Foundation by Asimov, of course, is a great pick. All right, well, this has been excellent, Brian. I've enjoyed talking to you today. Thank you for coming on the show. Nothing else to say, really, except hand the metaphorical microphone back to your good self. Again, please tell people where they should go to engage with Fringe Finance. And also, if you have a personal Twitter or anywhere else you like to hang out on the internet that people can find you, please let us know.
Yeah, okay. Again, we are at fringe.fi. So that is FRINGE, on the fringe of things. Have a look there. It's got all of our social media. Have a look at our Twitter. I do guest posts there. We've got our Medium site where we do blogs and a whole bunch of good content. But Andy, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today, and thanks for having us on. We're excited for all of this. And we're going live. It's been a hard slog up until this moment. We expect it to continue. And one of these days, I might get a good night's sleep.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. All the best, and bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.
All right, there you go. That was Brian from Fringe Finance. Shout out to Brian and the team. Man, it's got to be challenging building and then deploying a new DeFi platform or protocol in these interesting crypto times. Man, turbulent times in the market. Innit? Yeah. What do you reckon? It means turbulent times in the world. I've got to have... got to get some of the TA guys, some of my analyst mates back on the show, I think, in the weeks ahead, so we can see what everyone thinks. Yeah, let's do that. Anyway, stay tuned. If you want to know when those episodes drop, best thing to do, of course, is to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation. But for now, that is today's show. Thanks, team. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin. See ya.